right. Thank you so much, everyone. It's another day, it's the 3rd of February, and then we are here yet again to discuss some immigration updates, especially the US immigration, the updates, the trending things about the immigration. I know there's been a lot of questions about people being current with their priority date, and then they have not gotten an ID interview date. So some of those things that we're going to be looking at from an attorney's perspective. So he's going to be giving us our guest speaker today is going to be giving an insight towards that. I know a lot of people have come to me with questions about being current and not having priority dates. Sorry, not having interview dates. All right. So we have a very special person. He's our immigration attorney. He's located in Arizona. His name is Mr. Douglas Kofi. He's here with us today and we'll be going through the visa bulletin. We'll also be discussing interview dates, updates, and then we'll also do a Q&A at the end of the program. So if you have any questions during the program, I would like you to write it down. We'll give everybody the opportunity to ask their question at the end, okay? So I just let me see the location of people where people are joining us from. I see Nigeria, Nigeria. Let me go down. Nigeria. I saw someone, Stella from UK. I see Ghana, I see Nigeria, UK, Nigeria, and then Nigeria, UK. Okay, so we have basically people from Nigeria and UK today. All right, so Mr. Douglas is here with us. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I make welcome Mr. Douglas Kofi. So he can, first of all, he's going to throw lights on all these three topics that we've selected, so two topics that we selected. And then after that, he would take some questions as time would permit. He's a very busy person, so I don't expect that we're going to be here for a long time. So, but he's going to throw light into all the questions that we might have to ask. All right, thank you and welcome, Mr. Douglas.
Welcome, bro. Good evening. I think it is in West Africa. Good evening, everybody. My name is Douglas Kofi, as Mr. Decency said. Today's webinar, what I would like to do is, first of all, I'll go over the visa bulletin, and then we'll talk a little bit about interview dates at the various embassies. And then after that, I'll open it up for questions. I don't want today's webinar to just be me just talking the whole time. I want it to be an interaction where we can interact, and I hope by the end of it, you get something of value for the time that you're spending with us today. So I think, let's see if you could allow me to share my screen so I can go over the visa bulletin decency, that would be wonderful.
Let me give you that. No, sorry, sir.
Thank you. So obviously the first thing we're talking about is the visa bulletin. And I'm sure by now, if you're on this call, you probably know what the visa bulletin is. But for those who don't know, the visa bulletin is a monthly newsletter that the Immigration and Naturalization Services or USCIS releases on a monthly basis. That tells us the number of people in the queue, how long of a wait you have to wait for your specific visa category. So in other words, you can look at it as the queue, right? And it tells you which dates in the queue that they're currently processing. And it comes out about the 10th or the 15th of every month, and it's always 1 month ahead. So the visa bulletin for February 2024 is the one I have on my screen. We received this one on January 12th. And so the one for March is going to come out on February 12th. It always comes out a month ahead, so you can see what's going on in the subsequent months. And so when you look at the visa bulletin, this is what it typically looks like. The first part that you see is the family-sponsored preferences. This doesn't really apply to us because, I believe everybody on this call is a nurse and at least looking for the nurse pathway to come into America. So this doesn't apply to you. But in the event that you're curious, uh, in,
Mr. Douglas, can you unmute yourself, please? I'm trying to.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
In the event that you're curious, the family sponsored preferences is basically talking about people who are sponsoring visas for their family. So the first preference is the unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, and so on and so forth. So you can read that, and then you look at the table to see what the relevant priority dates are. These two tables are what matters to us, the employment preferences, because that's what you're coming under. The one specifically that you need to look out for is the third preference, which is the EB3 visa that you're being applied for. So if you look at the first table, is the final action dates for employment-based preferences. There's two tables for the employment-based preference. The first one, obviously, is the final action dates. The final action dates is the dates on which your visa number becomes available, right? And so for people who are outside the U.S., this is the table that you need to use, is the final action dates table if you're outside the US. And the final action date table just says that this is the date by which a visa number will become available for you. And so if you look at the third preference, it says February 1st, 2022. That is what the final action date says for this specific month. What that means is that if you look at your I-140 receipt filing, it has a priority date on there. And I can, give me 1 second, I can show you what a typical I-140 looks like. Okay, so this is what a typical I-140 receipt looks like. No, this is 765, I believe. Yes, that one. This is a typical I-140 receipt. So when you look at the I-140 receipt, the first block says receipt. The case type is I-140. It has your receipt number. It has the date that it was received, and then it has your priority date. Okay. Now, the priority date is the date. It's your place in line, your place in the queue, right? That is basically telling you how far along you are in the queue. So you look at this priority date, and then you come and look at the managing multiple screens at the same time is a little challenging, but we'll get it. There we go. So you look at their priority that we looked at first at May 1st of 2023. That's what the priority date is. So you look at the visa bulletin, and if this date says May 1st, 2023, then you know that your priority date has become current. So that's what it means when you're checking the priority dates. You look at your I-140 receipt, the priority date's on the receipt, and then you compare it to what the final action date is. That is how you determine whether or not your priority date has become current. If you look at the visa bulletin and it says C, C means current, right? It means that there's no retrogression, there's no waiting list. So EB1 is current, there's no retrogression. 2, 3, and 4, there's retrogression. EB5, there's no retrogression for those categories. But for people who are currently in the US, they have to use this table called the date for filing. And the reason why they have to use this table is because it's the day by which they can file. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the day they're going to get their green card. It just means that's the date they can file. If you're already in the U.S. and you file your green card application, your I-485 with your I-140, you get certain benefits that people outside the U.S. don't. For example, you get a work authorization, an employment authorization document. And so this dates for filing, if you're in the US and this priority date says February 1st, 2023. If your priority date is on or before this date, it means that that's the date that you can file. And so that's the difference between the two tables. One is for people who are outside the US. The other one is for people who are currently in the US. Okay. So that's the visa bulletin in general. If you have any questions about the visa bulletin specifically, again, I want to be specific on the visa bulletin, and as we go through the other things, I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. But on the visa bulletin specifically, if you have any questions, we can take some of them now.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Douglas. So, I believe a lot of our nurses have reached out to me, and one of their questions is that they've seen their priority date become current, and yet they are not getting interview dates. So, is there anything you can say about that?
Yeah, your priority date becoming current doesn't give you a right to a visa. It just means that your visa number is available, and then the embassy has to give you an interview date based on the availability at that specific interview, at the specific embassy.
Mhm.
And one of the other things that we're going to talk about, which we can jump right into, is what options are available for people whose priority dates are current, but they're not able to find interview dates at their local embassy. We can talk about some of those next.
Right. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can put them down in the comment section, or you can request the mic, and then I will give you an approval so you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. That's if you don't understand anything that he explained about our visa bulletin. All right, let me check the comment section. It's clear. No question. I think we can go on at this point. I think
Okay.
everybody understands. Yeah.
So in January, the Department of State, which is the agency that runs embassies worldwide, released this newsletter, and this is the part that I think is important. It says that our goal is to provide this was released on January 2nd, 2024, so about a month or so ago, this year. And it says that our goal is to provide a visa interview for every applicant who requires one in a reasonable time frame. Although our processing capacity has rebounded faster than projected, demand remains at historically high levels in some countries. And the result is that some visitor visa applicants still face lengthy times for an interview. Now, it says some visitor visa applicants. So up to this point, it doesn't apply to EB3 because you're not a visitor applicant. You're an immigrant applicant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look down here, it says as wait times continue to drop, we encourage any visa applicant. So it's opening it up to any visa applicant at this point, which includes the immigrant visa classes. We encourage any visa applicant who can travel to another embassy or consulate with shorter wait times to consider doing so. As a global organization, we recognize that there are reasons for applying anywhere appointments are available, even outside your home country, and will not disadvantage applicants who choose this route. So the Department of State is basically saying that we recognize that some countries have shorter wait times and some countries have longer wait times. If you're able to, they're encouraging you to move your case from your current embassy with the longer wait times to an embassy with the shorter wait times. And they're also promising that if you do that, they're not going to disadvantage you, which means that they're not going to use that against you in determining whether to give you a visa or not. And so I think this is a fantastic news this year that gives people whose priority dates are current and they've been waiting for a long time for their visa interviews to look into the option of moving their case from their home country into a different embassy that gives you a shorter wait time. Now, the trick with this specific one is that there's no resource online or anywhere that tells you how busy the embassies are.
Right.
The trick that my office uses, which I'll go over with you here shortly, is that you just simply go to Google and then you type in visa interview wait times. Visa interview wait times, right? And then the first one you're going to see is the visa appointment wait times online. So you click on that, and then this comes up. The key thing to remember is that this is for non-immigrant visas. So this is not for people who are applying for a green card. This is for non-immigrant visas only, right? And then you enter your city. So for example, let's check Lagos or Abuja, I guess. Let's do Abuja.
I think it's Lagos for the non-immigrant. That's fine.
Yeah. So if you put in Abuja, you can see the various dates, right? Um, and you can see that interview required for student visas is 36 days. For crew and transit is 658 days. Interview for B1, B2 visitor visas is 658 days. That's over 2 years. Well, that's almost 2 years, I believe,
Right,
right?
right. That's true.
Yeah, oh, yeah, 2 years. Okay. So then you go to a different city. Let's look at Accra. So you look at Accra for student visas, even longer. Lagos was 26 days. Accra is 269 days for student visas.
Hmm.
178 for temporary workers, H-1B. So HLO, H-1B visas would apply, would fall under this interview required section, which is 178 days in Lagos.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, I'm sorry, in Accra.
In Accra. Hmm.
Interview required for business visas, B1, B2 is 317 days. So
Yeah.
this is not any better. Accra is not any better than Lagos. It's almost the same, in terms
Right,
of how long wait times is.
right.
But you look at a country like let's say Yaoundé, Douala, Yaoundé in Cameroon, right?
Hmm.
So you look at Yaoundé and
Oh my
interview
God.
required for student visas is one day,
Right.
right? H-1B temporary visas, HLOPQ visas, it's one day. One calendar day, that is, not one business day, one calendar day,
One
right?
day.
Interview required for crew and transit, one day. Business visas, that was 2 years in Abuja, it's only 12 days in Yaoundé,
Cameroon.
right? Right. And so when I look at these three different countries, what that tells me is that there's a good chance that my interview for an immigrant visa in Yaoundé will be shorter than either Accra or Lagos.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know that for a fact, right? Because it doesn't tell me about immigrant visas.
Hmm.
But if I use non-immigrant visas to try to figure out how busy the embassy is,
Hmm.
this table tells me that Yaoundé is not as busy as Accra or Lagos, right? And
Right.
so, as an attorney working for my clients, I would be more comfortable sending them to Yaoundé for an interview and knowing that there's a good chance that I could get a shorter interview in Yaoundé than I would in Accra. Again, I want to specify that it's not a science, right? It's not a math, it's not 100% guaranteed. But when you look at the dates for the various visa classes, it gives you a good idea with a certain level of certainty about which embassy is busier than the others.
Right.
If one embassy is taking 2 years to give me a date, the other embassy is only taking one day, it tells me that the one who is giving me one day is not as busy as the one that is giving me 2 years, right? And so you can use that and say that, okay, if my priority date is current and I transfer my case to Yaoundé, there's a good chance that I can get an interview date much quicker. Now, for people that are doing H-1B, it's for sure that you can get your interview date much quicker in Yaoundé than you would in Nigeria.
Right.
Because when we looked at the one in Nigeria, it was 176 days to get an interview date in Nigeria, whereas it's only one calendar day to get an interview in Yaoundé. So I could get you an interview date on Monday if we applied in Yaoundé today, right? So those are the difference, and these are the options that you have as a visa applicant who your project is current and you're not your local embassy is not giving you a date. If
Wow.
anybody has questions about these issues specifically, we can address those.
Trust me, there's a lot of questions. I've seen so many people trying to, ask questions, and these are information you don't get anywhere. And thank you for being so transparent, Mr. Douglas, because a lot of people know these tricks and all that, and they don't even let people know, like, those are in the process. They don't let them know. But thank you for doing that. So, guys, I know you have some questions, but we're gonna do it one after the other. Um, Timothy, you recently said you wanted to ask a question. I don't know, your audio is still trying to connect. So we'll take more questions from the comment section. So someone was asking, let me see one question. So please, is February 1st, 2023 the current date for nurses? That's from Choma Vera.
Yeah. So Choma, if you look at the employment, the dates for filing, you are if Choma, if you're outside the U.S., your date is here, September 1st, 2022. If you're in Nigeria, this is the dates that you have to go by. It's 1st of September, 2022. And so your priority date is that date.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So, Timothy, are you ready for your question? Timothy. Okay. Do we have any other person with a question today? Stella Maris, you have a question?
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, go on with your
I
question.
don't I don't know my question. I want to ask if it is not something that pertaining to this, you just tell me. My sister-in-law filed for our immigrant visa and it was ready since December 2020. So the US embassy has been sending us messages telling us that all our documents and everything, payment has been documentarily okay and all that we are now due for interview since December 2020. So they are now sending that message every few months. Every few months they used to repeat it. So we are so concerned that is it supposed to be since December 2020, all our papers are ready for interview. They said because of COVID-19 and all that, that when it is our turn, they will call us for interview. So I don't know. So let me just ask the question. I
Well,
don't know.
what kind of visa is your sister-in-law petitioning for you? Is that a B1, B2 visa? Do you know what type of visa it is?
That's another thing I don't know.
Okay. Is your sister-in-law the one sponsoring the visa?
Yes, she lives in California. Yes,
Okay. And who is she sponsoring? Just you or you and your kids?
me, my husband, and my two kids
Okay.
already is there. Mm.
Yeah, so it's probably a non-immigrant visa or a tourist visa because your sister-in-law cannot apply for a family-based petition or family visa for you. And so what that tells me is that it's probably a non-immigrant B1, B2 visa. In that case, you look at you can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
So you fall in this category. 416 days is the earliest you can get an interview date. And so it makes sense that from 2020, this is about 2 years, right? So, or a year and a half almost. So it makes sense that you're still waiting. If you've been documentarily qualified,
Yeah.
that just tells you that they've received all your documents. They don't need any further documents from you. You're simply just waiting for an interview date. If you want to get an interview date quicker, what I would advise you to do is consider moving your case to Yaoundé. Yaoundé is a short flight from Nigeria, right? So consider moving your interview dates. Consider moving your case from Nigeria to Cameroon, and you can get a date quicker. It doesn't mean that your visa is going to get approved. It just means that you're going to get an interview quicker. And if you go to the interview, obviously you can either get approved or you can get denied. But this doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get approved. It's just going to guarantee you that you have a quicker interview date.
Then how am I gonna do that?
So,
Well,
Salamaris, you can, because we'll just keep going back and forth. We have so many things to cover today. So what I would advise is send me a message. I don't know if you have my number or in any of our platform, request to get my number and then send me a message and I will schedule a meeting between you and Mr. Douglas, okay? So that we can talk, but this is a more personal
All right, okay.
issue.
Thank
So
you
we
so
can
much.
talk about, yes, we'll talk about it in, on maybe a Zoom
Oh,
call or something, okay? All right,
okay,
so we have
okay.
we have other questions that I would like us to take, which are very, very good questions. So I said Bobby is asking, how long does it take to transfer a case from one embassy to another? And so in case they choose that option of transferring to Yaoundé, for instance.
it doesn't take very long. It typically takes less than 30 days because all you have to do is send an email to the transferee embassy. So if you want to go to Cameroon, you send an email to the embassy in Cameroon, asking them to transfer your case from Nigeria. If they accept to do it, they would reach out to Nigeria and ask them to transfer the file there, and they will notify you after it's been done. And so it's a simple thing of sending an email or sending them a letter. Typically, we can get it done within 30 days.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. And then the next question is saying, okay, do I have to get a PR from Cameroon before I'm eligible to apply through their embassy? So do you have to be a permanent resident, or just a visitor coming in there and then applying?
No, you don't need to have a permanent resident. You need to enter the country legally. You need to apply for a visa to go to Cameroon.
Right.
But you don't need to be a permanent resident. This directive from the Department of State doesn't mention anything about qualifications to be there, because you're simply traveling there for the purpose of attending a visa interview. And so you need to get a visa to go there, because when you go to the embassy, you're gonna have to show proof of lawful presence in that country to be able to apply for the visa.
All right. Thank you so much. And then I have another one. Can I do adjustment of status if I have a visitor's visa here in the US?
That's a good question. And the answer is it depends. It depends on whether or not your priority date is current. If your priority date is current and your B1, B2 visa is not expired, yes, you can adjust your status.
Thank you so much. Let's take one more question. Can a visitor's visa be changed to a permanent residency? That's from another. I think he's asking the same question, but in a different way, right?
Yeah, your visitor's visa can be changed to permanent residency as long as your visitor's visa is active at the time that your priority date becomes current. Because if you ever go out of status, and here's the other thing that people don't realize about these B1, B2 visas. If you have a 10-year multiple entry visa, it doesn't mean you can come and live in the US for 10 years. It means that you can come to the US for 6 months at a time over a 10-year period. And so when you come in, you're only authorized to stay here for a maximum of 6 months. Some people even have to be shorter than that. Okay. So if you're in status, which means that you've not overstayed those 6 months, and your priority happens to be current during that window period, then you can change to a permanent resident. And so, it's a matter of walking the tight timeline, making sure that you never go out of status during those periods. Because once you go out of status, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right. Awesome. Sounds good. Chinoe said, I have a question. Please, can I transfer my case to any other African country and get a date soonest if I am current? And secondly, he's asking, I think that question, the answer is yes, from what Mr. Douglas asked and explained to us. And then the second question is, how long does it take for I-140 to be approved? From the approval of I-140 to case complete? What's the processing timelines?
Yeah, these questions. Well, the first question about can you transfer your case? The answer is yes. Like you said, we covered it at the outset. Like I said, again, it takes about 30 days to do it. The fourth question about how long it takes for your I-140 to be approved. I want to show you guys how to do it so that you can do these yourself. I believe in teaching you how to find this, and these informations are available online, and you can certainly find them yourself. So I want to teach you how to do it. Okay. So what you do is that you go to Google, and then you type in USCIS I-140 processing timelines, right? And then the USCIS website pops up. You click on that one. You put the name of the form. The name of the form is the I-140, right? The form subcategory is the skilled worker, EB3 or E31, like it says there. So you click skilled worker. The field office. Now, if you're outside the United States, your case is probably going to go to Dallas, the Dallas Service Center, the Texas Service Center, if you're in the United States. There's only 2 service centers, Nebraska and Dallas. If you're in the United States, you send it to Nebraska. If you're outside the United States, you send it to Texas, right? And so most of your cases are getting sent to Texas. So you click on the Texas Service Center, you click on Get Processing Time. And then it tells you 80% of cases are completed within 7.5 months, right? So that's your answer, But it doesn't tell you the 100% of cases, 80%. So that means the majority of their cases are getting completed within 7.5 months. And you can find this information online yourself.
Mm.
Sometimes it makes sense for you to, because if you're with an agency, which I believe most of you are, and you call your lawyer and you ask your lawyer, hey, how long is my I-140 going to take to get approved? To be frank and open, that's a lazy question, right? Because it's not a legal question. Attorneys are typically paid for their time by the hour. And if the attorney takes their time to go find you this information, they're not getting paid for it. And you can find these information online. And so you should make sure that the questions that you're going to pose to the person that you're going to be asking the question to is one that you cannot find the answers to yourself. And it's a legal question. And if you ask somebody, how long is my I-140 going to take to get approved? I mean, that's a simple Google search. We did it in less than a minute, right? You can find these answers yourself.
Right.
Now, if your kids get sent to the Nebraska Service Center and you click get processing times, 80% of cases are getting completed within 5.5 months, right? And so we always tell people it takes about 8 months to get your I-140 approved. Now, if your I-140 doesn't get approved within 8 months, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong, because it says 80% of cases are getting approved within that time frame. It doesn't mean that everybody's case is getting approved within that time frame. I hope that answers the question.
Right. And to add to what you said, actually, I've been in that scenario where I had to look for an attorney to speak to, because I needed an information about something. I searched everywhere, I couldn't find it, and I needed to just speak to a lawyer. And then the person charged me $500 and 30 minutes for 30 minutes just to talk to him for 30 minutes, $500. So getting opportunity to speak to a lawyer like this, or an attorney who
Yeah,
is
so
based in
most
the
of these things
US, anything you can find yourself, you can just do well to do it. But for the very, very important questions that you have, especially concerning your immigration, we can take care of that anytime we get a chance to speak to Mr. Douglas. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. And I have another question. This one says, did Nigerians need, or do Nigerians need visas to travel to Cameroon, since it's the same West African country? So these are things that you might actually look for. I don't know if there's an alliance between West African countries and no visas to each of those countries. So I think there are some sort of countries that allows you to come in, without a visa. I don't know, Mr. Douglas, do you have any idea? I know you're from Ghana, but I
well,
know.
yeah, Ghanaians need a visa to go to Cameroon,
Okay.
because I was in Cameroon for Christmas. My fiance is from Cameroon, so we're in
Right.
Cameroon for Christmas, and you have to get a visa, but it's all online. You can get it online. And Cameroon is not in West Africa; it's in Central Africa,
Right.
and so they're not part of ECOWAS. They're part of a different.
Oh, coalition. All right.
But
Thank you
yes,
so
you can get it. It's an e-visa, and you get it online. It's relatively easy to do.
Okay.
Yeah, see, it says Nigerians do not need a tourist visa when traveling to Cameroon in 2024.
Oh, all right.
There you
There
go.
you go, guys. There you go. All right, sounds good. All right, so let me see if I can take more questions. We have someone, Rita has a question to ask. Rita, can you I've asked you to unmute yourself. Try and see if it works so that you can ask your question.
Okay, my question is kind of a personal one. They filed for my I-140 since June, yes. So currently, I relocated with my children to the United Kingdom. So my question is, I don't know, during the process of migration, do I need a consent letter from my husband?
See
Because currently,
Nigeria.
we are not together because he left me for someone else, and I don't want him to go with us. So do I need a consent letter from him, because he's trying to use me like a ladder to climb to the top? So I'm really concerned because of my children.
You want us to talk about this in private? Because I think it's a kind of a personal. Rita, do you have my number?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll send it to you privately on the Zoom chat. Okay, so just comment on the
All
comment
right,
section
okay.
and I'll send it to you so we can talk about that. Right, Mr. Douglas?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, it seems like a personal matter. And, yes,
Mhm.
we can.
Because I feel like we have almost 130 people here. So I don't know if your husband is right here. So we have to like, let's talk about it in private so we can keep your information and all your plans secured. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Rita. All right, let me go ahead and read more questions from the comment section. So, Okocha Faith is asking, sir, can one with EB3 transfer her case to another embassy, like from Lagos to Jordan? Thank you. So we just said yes to that, I believe. You know, with EB3, you can transfer your case from one embassy to another. And you know what? I know a lot of Nigerians who have traveled to the UK and they did their embassy interviews in UK, and most of them got a shorter processing time frames. Okay, so you have to, just implore the trick that Mr. Douglas taught us right now, and see if it works for you in Jordan. That's the much I can ask.
I will say about Jordan though, we had a problem with we have a pending lawsuit against one of the visa interviewers in Jordan, because apparently they have a personal vendetta against against Westways, I believe, and so I would be careful about Jordan as an EB3 applicant from Nigeria.
Hmm. Okay, you had that. That's it. Very nice information. Okay, how long does it take to relocate to the US after passing NCLEX?
Well, the after you pass the NCLEX, we apply for the I-140, and like we saw, it takes about 8 months for the I-140 to get approved. After the I-140 gets approved, you have to wait for your priority date to become current. And like we saw for the priority date for September 1st, 2022, that is what, a year and 4 months, right?
Right.
So 16 months for your priority date to become current, and then you have to get a date at the embassy. If it takes them 4 months to give you a date, that's 20 months. And so I would say under 2 years. If everything goes perfectly, your I-140 gets approved in 8 months, the priority date doesn't retrogress even further, and you get a date quickly, it would take you about 2 years.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And I have another question about priority date and timelines, but this one is for UK. So the priority date says, sir, what's the wait time for ID in interview dates for people whose priority date are presently current in UK? So I think it boils down to the first question I asked you, people who are current but not getting IDs. But this one is from UK.
Yeah, again, it's the same thing about their your priority date being current doesn't guarantee you an interview date. Your interview date is based on the capacity and the internal processing times of the embassy. And so if the embassy in London is very, very busy, then you're not going to get an interview date quickly. And when people say their priority dates are current, sometimes you find that people mistake these two tables, right? And so you need to make sure that when you say your priority date is current and you're outside the US, you're talking about this September 1st date, okay? And
Right.
then after your priority date becomes current, the embassy, if they're not so busy, they will send you a date for you to attend the interview. And if you can't find a date at the specific embassy that you want, and you have the resources, the Department of State is encouraging you to move to a different embassy.
Right. Right, that's a good information. Thank you so much. So I have Uche Omans. If you're here, you can ask your question. I just need you to raise your hand or unmute yourself. I've given you permission. You can unmute yourself and then ask your question, Uche. Uche
Okay.
Omam. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm the one. I'm the one. Good evening, Mr. Douglas.
Hello, Uche.
I'm one of your clients. I'm one of your clients. The last meeting we had, you made mention of who is interested in H-1B visa should send you a mail towards the end of January, which I did, but you never responded. So I want to know if the process is still ongoing, and if it's still ongoing, what are we expected to do? Because from the way you explained it, I think I'm qualified to apply. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're for all the West candidates that have been currently assigned to me, we are going to have a webinar this coming week. I think we were planning on sometime Wednesday. We're going to send out a link, and then at that webinar, we're going to collect the information of everybody who is interested. We'll do a preliminary analysis to figure out who is eligible and who is not. And then once you're found to be eligible, we'll apply for you. The deadline for filing for the H-1B registration is March 1st. And so I told you at
Okay.
the end of January to give ourselves enough time to be able to collect the information. So we're still within time. And sometime next week, we're going to have a webinar with all of the people that have been assigned to me to move forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. I have another question. So, sir, please, I have similar issues. Please kindly allow me to discuss with you. This is Juliet. Juliet is asking, I believe she's referring to the issue of custody that Rita made mention of. So, for Juliet and Rita, I'm going to drop my email address. You can send me an email and I will have a meeting scheduled with you and Mr. Douglas.
For me too, I would like to have your number so that we'll discuss what I told you.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the comment section. Decency NCLEX Academy. .com. All right, so the email address is right there. Admin at decencynclassacademy.org. So if you send me an email there, we can get maybe we'll send you the calendar and then we can schedule a meeting between you and Mr. Douglas so we can discuss this further. All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Douglas. Let's see if we can take one more question. If you have any question, we have up to 130 people in this meeting. So if you have any question, about anything that we've discussed today, feel free to ask your question. And that very question can, answer, about 10 more questions of people who are here and have not had a chance to speak, okay? All right, so I can just let you ask your question directly if you want to. All right, so someone is asking, Ife is asking, what does it mean if you have not gotten your I-140 receipt in 8 weeks? What can be done about it?
Yeah, I think we have a client that I have a client personally who's going through the exact same issue. Sometimes when you send these applications to USCIS, a lot of things can happen, right? Sometimes the mail gets lost. The processing center, the people that receive the mail gets they misplace it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And so typically what we do is that the first thing you do is that you give them enough time, typically about 60 days for them to figure it out. 60 days is way too much, right? Typically you get your receipt within 2 weeks to 3 weeks, but we give them 60 days just in case something went wrong. And if that doesn't work, there's a contact number that you call with USCIS, and then you send them the tracking information, and then you also send them the proof of payment. Now, it depends on the size of your company. So Westways, for example, sponsors thousands of people for immigration benefits annually. It's going to be very difficult for Westways to go through their bank statements to find a $700 payment for a specific candidate. And so what we typically do is that if we're not able to show that they've taken out the payment, the easiest thing to do is to reapply. And so for those circumstances, instead of chasing, well, you have one of two options. You can chase after the application and prove to them that they have it and try to find it, or you can reapply. And typically the easiest thing we found is to reapply. So sometimes some of these things happen. People that are processing these applications are human beings, and unfortunately, some of these problems happen.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Douglas. So next question is coming from Ife. Okay, Ife, that's the one that we just answered. Okay, so let me see. Can someone include a stepchild in his or her immigration processing? Someone told me not to, that it would delay my processing. So process time frames. So,
Yeah, including your stepchild is allowed. the U.S. Department of State defines a child as somebody who is either through marriage, through adoption, or through wedlock. And so if you married the father or the mother of the child before the child turns 16, that person can be classified as a stepchild and put on your application. The difficult part about it, or the scary part about all of this, is that if you married yesterday and then you put your stepchild in the application today, it looks suspicious. It looks like and so the timelines also matter. You have to make sure that what you're doing on the specific application doesn't look suspicious. And if the marriage is legitimate and this person is indeed your stepchild, yes, you can put them on the application and it's not going to cost any delays.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So we have another person that want to ask a question. It's Sandra Chidima. Sandra, I've asked you to unmute. You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, sorry. Good evening. Thank you. Sorry, I'm in the noisy place a little. Please, I'm with Wasteways and they're trying to apply for I-140 for me. So I was told at some point that Joseph Silney is not able to, the evaluation they did for me is not enough or good enough for the I-140. So they have to get another evaluator. So I didn't quite get that explanation. Can he please explain what that means? Thank you.
Yeah, Sandra, I'm not familiar with your file. Westways has got multiple lawyers. I'm just one of them. I'm not the lawyer for Westways. I'm a lawyer for Westways, and so I don't know who is assigned to your case specifically. But the way that it typically works is that if you pass your NCLEX, okay, if you've passed your NCLEX, none of that matters. But sometimes if you're a diploma nurse, for instance, and you go through the credential evaluation process, and the Joseph Silney or CGFNS or one of these other agencies tells you that your credentials are not equivalent to the US one, it may require you to take some top-up course to be able to be up to par to allow you to get your ATT and all that to move forward. If you're having these problems with Joseph Silney, it tells me that you haven't passed your NCLEX, because you're not going to go through and take the NCLEX or get an ATT if your credentials are not being evaluated.
I think that's even, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think she has passed.
I think that's why, yes, that's why I'm even a little worried about the whole thing. I did my NCLEX in July in Brazil, and I've passed all of that stage. So I was kind of surprised why they are bringing me back to evaluation, and
If you've passed the NCLEX, it's not a credential evaluation problem, because as far as I-140 is concerned, the things that you have to prove is that you have to prove that, one, you've passed the NCLEX, and then two, you also, so either you've passed the NCLEX or you're licensed in any US states. Is one or the other, right? And so after you've passed the NCLEX, nobody really cares about your credential evaluation anymore, because it's already been determined that you're up to par, your credentials are equivalent to the American standard. And so again, I don't know the lawyer that is telling you that information. Maybe Sandra, send an email to Edgar, okay? Do you have Edgar's email?
Yes, I do.
Okay, send an email to Edgar and then tell him that you've already passed the NCLEX and they're telling you something about your credential evaluation. Edgar is very knowledgeable, and he would be able to help you. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Sandra, for that question. And then we'll move forward, and let's see.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Decency, do you mind if I, Juliet was asking a question in the chat group. Juliet, if you're on the call, can you unmute yourself? I want to have a discussion with you, if that's okay.
Oh, Juliet. Oh, yeah, I saw that question. Juliet, are you right here? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
It's been my own Juliet.
The one that
Juliet,
commented.
What's Anoro?
Okay,
yeah, it's my own Juliet. Juliet Anoro.
Okay, Anoro. I'm sorry, I butchered your.
It's okay.
Yeah. Why do you want a direct placement? What are the benefits of a direct placement?
Well, I'm self-sponsored, and though I was thinking that direct placement or direct hire is better than agency, and that is why I treat open so that I'll be properly guided, because I've passed in September and I've been applying, I'm not getting any response. Then the one that I got was very far, the weather was good. When I was checking out all those things, I wasn't okay with it. So I'm just here. I don't know what to do, and the time is
Yeah,
going. So that is
what
why
do you, yeah, when you say it's direct placement is better, I just want to understand the rationale, right? So that we can discuss it. When you say it's better, direct placement is better, what are the advantages of a direct placement over a staffing agency?
well, I was thinking that maybe the the time frame, the hours you're to put on will be less, and then the nurse might have other privilege over the agency employed nurse. So that's just what I was thinking on my own. I'm starting to be corrected. That's why I threw the question open, please.
Yeah, I mean, one is not necessarily better than the other, Julia. It comes down to preferences. And when people ask this question, I always want to figure out, because there's no right or wrong answer, right? People choose different things for different reasons. But I always want to figure out, when people say direct placement is better than staffing agencies, I always try to understand, what do you mean better? Like, what are you getting in a direct placement that a staffing agency is not typically giving you? And one of the things that people typically say is sign-on bonus. That the agency is going to, the direct placement is going to give me a sign-on bonus, they're going to pay me more. And so if you look at how much people in direct placement are making, I have never met anybody who is in a direct placement, a hospital, making more than $50 an hour. And if you find one of those places, I would like to know, so that I can partner with them and do business with them. It just doesn't exist. Direct placement hospitals are not paying people $50 an hour starting. It just doesn't exist, right?
Okay.
The second thing that people say is the sign-on bonus. It's true. I've seen direct placement hospitals paying people up to $10,000, sometimes even $15,000 in sign-on bonuses. Now, when they give you that $15,000, they're not paying for your accommodation. They're not paying for certain things that staffing agencies would pay for. So take, for example, Westways. Westways would give you up to $5,000 reimbursement for your NCLEX related expenses. Okay. They would also pay for 3 months of your housing when you arrive in the US. Now, the average rent in the US is about $2,000 per month. And so 2,000 times three, that's 6,000, plus the 5,000, that's $11,000, right?
Yeah.
You also don't pay anything for your dependents on the immigration process. And so when you add all these benefits that you're getting from a staffing agencies, they don't call it a sign-on bonus. But when you do the math on the actual dollars, you realize that the staffing agencies are typically paying you more than what a direct placement is paying you. One of the
Yes, sir.
other advantages that you get with the staffing agencies that you don't get with the direct placement, that you don't get with the direct placement, is that the people that you're talking to in the direct placement, those people are typically HR reps, okay? And HR reps are not immigration lawyers. They assign your case to an immigration lawyer. The immigration lawyer that the HR rep assigns your case to is working on an hourly basis.
Okay.
And when you email them to ask them a question, they typically don't respond to you in a timely fashion, because they're not, they're not being paid for the question that you're asking them. So with the staffing agencies, typically you get a more personal service, and your questions get answered in a timely fashion. The biggest advantage of a direct placement over a staffing agency is that you know for sure which hospital you're going to work. That is the only significant advantage of a direct placement over a staffing agency that I see. So for instance, if you say that I want to work in Arizona because it's hot, it's not cold, the weather is nice, and all of that, and you apply to Phoenix Children's Hospital, for instance, you know that even if you arrive in the US in 5 years, you know that your place of employment is going to be Phoenix, Arizona. Whereas with the staffing agencies, that's always subject to change, right? And so that's the biggest advantage of a direct placement over a staffing agency, is the place that you're going to work. But besides that, I think all of them are comparable, and it's a matter of preference on seeing which one is giving you the candidates more than the other. So it's always a good idea to get both and compare and see where you're getting the most value for your skills.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Douglas. So now, here's the thing. So there is a very, very, very amazing offer that we've got. So if you have passed NCLEX and you have not gotten any agency yet, so we have some partners that we're working with, and you're gonna get, like Mr. Douglas said, about $5,000 a bonus, sign-on bonus with them. And then the contract term is actually 2 years. You can't get it anywhere. Most of these agencies and all that, they won't give you a 2 years contract term. And the contract term is also in hours. So if you decide to do it by hour, so you'll be able to finish quicker if you get a lot of overtime. Okay, you can finish in a year and 6 months, for instance, if you're working very hard. Okay, and then you have the opportunity of even working with your recruiter to choose where you're going to work in. So even though you don't know the specific location where you're going to work, like direct hire, you can actually choose with your recruiter, and there could be some kind of adjustment there on where you're going to work, and you have a choice. You can make your own input into where you want to be situated, or relocated to. All right. So all these packages, if you're interested in it, you can send an email with your resume and your NCLEX pass letter. Send it to Decency Staffing Solutions.com, admin at Decency Staffing Solutions. If you send it there, we'll get you an interview immediately, and then we'll get you because the main thing is that you have to get on the line. Like you passed in September, right now you should have had maybe your I-140 by now, I-140 approval, and at least you should have had a priority date. Okay, so get in the line as soon as possible, as quick as possible. And the only way you can get in the line is by choosing an agency or choosing a direct hire, like you said, and then starting the process so that you can at least have a priority date. Because we expect this priority date to keep leaping 1 month after another, 1 month after another, until it becomes current. And who knows when it's going to be current. So for you to be able to get in line and be processed faster, you need to have a priority date. Okay, so my advice to everyone who is listening to us now is that if you are in that category of people who want to just take this opportunity, take advantage of this opportunity, send us that email with your resume and your NCLEX pass letter, and we'll get you interviewed, and then we'll also get you a contract as soon as possible. All right, so we partner with a lot of agencies, but we ourselves want to promote the one that we feel that gives the most benefits to our candidates. So that's what you're seeing now. We have a lot also. If you come to us, we can evaluate you and see if you qualify for other people that we also partner with. All right. So, but for now, I'm giving you the best in the box. Okay. So I think it's somewhere where everybody would like to be. I myself, I'm a registered nurse, and I was also an agency nurse. At some point, it wasn't all that rosy. It wasn't all that sweet. But when I see offers that are coming up these days, I wish I had one of those. Okay. So we are going to keep on going through the questions as we have so many questions pouring in. And what I would advise
Thank
is
you, sir.
yeah, okay, thank you, Juliet. So what I would advise is if you're in a place where you can ask this question by yourself, we can give you the opportunity to ask them, so we don't have to spend time reading all of that. And then, Mr. Douglas, I know that we scheduled this for 1 hour. We are just we're over 1 hour now. So can you do the next 30 minutes?
I've got another 15 minutes or so. I have to be somewhere at 11:45, so I have another
Okay.
15 minutes.
Do you want to pick and choose the questions to answer from the comment section?
No, just yeah, we can do another 15, 20 minutes, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let me see. Just give me precise answers so we can just run. Not okay. So, I think Juliet asked the question. How can you help me get direct? Okay, that's the question that you responded to. And then I have Pam. Can someone include parents or siblings in the application?
No, siblings don't qualify. Parents, you have to become a permanent resident first before you can sponsor your parents.
Okay. All right. Then I have Alexandra. Alexandra is asking about our post-NCLEX group. So we have a post-NCLEX group. The name is EPG, Exclusive Pre-Arrival Group. So if you want to be in that group, is a group where you get answers to everything post-NCLEX, okay? So you want to be in that group. We have up to 600 members right now in that group. So if you want to be in that group, let me know. I'll send a number. You can send a chat to that number, and then the number can add you to the group, okay? All right, so now let's go on. We have another question from, let's see, it's from Amazing. Amazing says, how long does H1B take from the beginning of the application to the end?
H1B typically takes, if everything goes perfectly, it takes about 8 months. You have to apply for your registration in March 1st. You apply for your visa in June, and then your visa would get approved by October. So technically, if everything goes perfectly, 8 months.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. And then Akande is asking, is it compulsory that all documents of the dependent are complete before I-140 can be filed?
Yes, if you want to file the I-140 and you want to add your dependent, you have to submit documents that show the relationship to the dependent. For example, if you want to add your husband, you have to show the marriage license because the marriage license, the marriage certificate shows the relationship. If you want to add your children, you have to show the birth certificate because that birth certificate establishes the relationship between you and your beneficiaries.
Okay, all right, and then let's go forward again. Let's see. Oluwasina. Oluwasina is asking, a firm from US claimed to complete EB3 visa for a nurse who has passed NCLEX and IELTS within 3 months. Please, is this feasible? I saw that email too. I saw that email. Trust me.
It's not real. Now I want to be fair though. Before June 1st of 2023, it was possible. Okay, before June 1st of 2023, it was possible, but since retrogression happened after June 1st, it's not possible because technically you can apply for an I-140, pay for premium process, and get a decision within 3 weeks, right? And then it gets sent to the National Visa Center. You get an interview date in the country that doesn't have a long wait. So in cases before retrogression, in some rare cases, it's possible, but now it's not possible. After June 1st of 2023, anybody that tells you that is lying to you.
Right. So I saw that email and I laughed. I was like, I don't want to cause confusion, so I'm gonna leave this.
Maybe they were talking about before retrogression happened because it was possible at that time before retrogression.
So you know what? This very particular people had a Zoom meeting, an interview, Zoom meeting with a lot of NCLEX passers, and they gave them this information, and a lot of people are really jumping at it. So, but I know it's not feasible, you know. All right, so let's see. Okay, let's see. Thanks. So for one, okay, Chinwe is asking if one is current and waiting for ID, is it wise to go for expedition? That's to expedite the process.
Yeah, I mean, if you're waiting for an interview date, it doesn't hurt to try to move it to an embassy with a shorter interview date.
All right, thank you. Then we have Onyebuchi Obiaga is asking, please, Mr. Douglas, is the webinar you talked about, is it only applicable to people assigned to you in West Wales?
Yeah, it's for my existing clients, the people that have already been assigned to me. Yes.
All right, so thank you. And Juliet is asking, sir, please kindly add me to the post-NCLEX group. I sent a number 346-370-7110. You can chat up that number and then you'll be added to the group. We'll just do a little quick verification and then you'll be added to the group. All right, then Juliet, okay, that's your question before. And then let's go down a little bit more. Okay, I read that before. Okay, then someone is asking, Cynthia said some direct placement pay more than $50. So Cynthia is saying that some direct placement pays more than $50. We would like to know, like Mr. Douglas said, we'd like to know, you know, those people that do.
It's possible. I mean, it's possible. if you want to work in a place that typically people don't want to work, they may offer you more for some of those places. But I have never seen one. And so Cynthia, if you could send me the name of that hospital, it would, or maybe even share with Juliet, because Juliet is interested, right? So
Right.
maybe give Juliet that information, and then Juliet can follow up and see if she can get that offer.
Exactly. All right. So, and then Jackson is asking, Mr. Decency, could you send a link for this very offer you spoke about, link to apply? So the way it goes is, Mr. Jackson, the way it goes is you send me your resume, send your resume and your NCLEX pass letter to me, and then we'll get you scheduled. We'll send you a link to schedule a meeting, and then we can do that. Or can we do any application for my case, Mr.
My
Douglas?
case?
Yeah.
Whose case?
Oh, I mean like the my case app, the app that we use.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we use for all of our filings. So yes, we can use that to collect information. Yes.
Yeah, but the quickest way is just to send me an email
Right.
with all the document that I requested. Okay. All right. So oh, someone said you have sent me Mr. Jackson said he has sent me an email and I have not responded. I'll go and look if you can copy your email and I will send your email to the comment section and I will go and look for it. Trust me, it might have been an oversight and I'm sorry about that. Okay, so and someone else is asking, please, Mr. Douglas, is my attorney and I have been waiting for I-140 receipt for over 60 days. I have sent him a mail already about that. I am drawing his attention to this. So I know, I think Mr. Douglas, you said something about it before. I don't know if I know the
Yeah,
other.
I have, like I said, I have a client who's going through the exact same thing, and what we're going to do for that client is just refile, because for us it's easier to refile than chasing that application. If you keep chasing that application, you're wasting your time, because you're not going to get your priority quicker, and then you just keep running around in circles. So for our client, we're going to refile, and I would encourage you to tell your attorney to refile.
Right. And then I'll have Cynthia. Cynthia is asking, sir, what might be the problem? I have applied for my I-140, but yet to be approved, but my priority date is out.
If your priority date is current and you've applied for your I-140 and it's been that long, the website that I showed you about the processing times, if when you go down to you go to that same website and you type in the dates, right? So for example, with the client that I had, it was May 1st, I think. So month is May 1st, 2023, and then you get inquiry dates. It tells you that your date for approval has already passed, and so you can submit a case inquiry, a service request. So you submit a service request asking them, why is my case taking long, and please speed up my case. And this is how you do it. You put your receipt number in and fill out the information, and then hit submit. Your attorney has to do this for you, and then when your attorney does that, it would prompt them to work on your case. So if your case is taking longer than 9 months to a year, I would certainly suggest that you do that.
Right. Thank you so much. And I believe that, I don't know if no response at all, whether RSC or anything, but I believe that if you talk to your immigration attorney about what Mr. Douglas suggested, both of you can work something out. Okay. So let's see more question. Mr. Decency, please, can we find the agency that we sponsor for NCLEX? We are going to be doing something this month. It's called partial sponsorship. So we have people already in it, but the list is not exhausted yet. So we still have a couple of rooms. So we in Decency NCLEX Academy, in partnership with Mr. Douglas, will be sponsoring people partially for the NCLEX. And I'll give more details about it later on, but it's just partial sponsorship, which means for you to qualify, you have to be in our program, and we have to make sure that you have been prepped well enough to be able to pass the NCLEX. So look out for a flyer or a video concerning that in the coming week. All right, so someone is asking Mr. Decency. Okay, now, okay, kindly admit, okay, I've already sent out a link for people that want to be added to the group in a number. So we'll add you there. I just want to pick the questions that concerns Mr. Douglas. Please, can I travel with my mother as a single mom because of my kids? Juliet is asking.
Again, no, you have to first become a permanent resident before you can sponsor. Not even a permanent resident. You have to become a citizen before you can sponsor your mother. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
Please, can I ask a question?
let me run through this, please, Timothy. Just Timothy, give me 1 minute,
Okay.
okay? Yeah, give me 1 minute. Let me run through this. So Moyin Oluwa is asking, please, can someone tell the employer he or she wants a H1B visa? And number 2 question is retrogression looking like it will end soon? That's the question.
Well, you can tell your employer whether that you want an H-1B visa, but your employer is the one paying for it ultimately, right? And so it's up to them whether or not they feel like it's beneficial to them to do. The fact that you ask them doesn't mean they're going to do it, but it doesn't hurt to ask. You can always ask. Retrogression, me giving you an answer on retrogression is kind of like me telling you whether it's going to rain tonight or not. I don't know. I have no idea, and anything that I tell you is going to be pure speculation.
Yes.
I look at the visa bulletin just like you guys do, and so I have no insight one way or the other.
You know why he's asking? Because there has been a lot of theories, a lot of theories out there. Like some immigration lawyer come out and say, we've studied this, it happened in 2008, and this is how it happened. And all those speculations and theories, they are not factual. It doesn't.
Yeah, all of those are just their personal opinions. I can give you my personal opinion, but it doesn't make it any more true than what you would tell me, right? It's not based on any facts. It's just all pure speculation.
Yeah. So Chisomonia is saying, if my agency does premium processing for I-140 and it gets approved by 15 days, does this facilitate my green card process regardless of retrogression?
No, premium processing only has to do with the filing of your I-140. It has nothing to do with your green card application whatsoever. So that's why Westways doesn't do premium processing anymore, because even if you get your I-140 approval in 15 days, it doesn't benefit you whatsoever. You still have to wait until your priority date becomes current. So premium processing with retrogression does not benefit you whatsoever. The only way that premium processing benefits you is if you're already in the US and they do premium processing and you get lucky and your priority, the retrogression goes away, right? That's a big if. If that happens, then yes, premium processing will benefit you. But outside of that, it doesn't speed up the application whatsoever.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. So someone is asking, Sir Decency, please, can you send your email? Okay, I will do that. I'll send the email address again. I just want to do all the, oh, Mr. Douglas did that already. Thank you so much for doing that. And that's the end of the question. So Timothy, you can unmute yourself now and ask your question.
Okay. I just want to ask, is there any stage that one will not add a dependent? Like I'm a single boy and I want to get married, but I have not actually known the exact time. If my I-140 is already out, I don't know the last stage, if I did not add my dependent, it won't be possible for me again.
You can add your dependents all the way up to your interview date. In fact, you can add your dependents at the counter when you're doing your interview. So there's no deadline to adding your dependents.
Yeah, I have a friend that added the dependent at the counter. Like they were in the embassy for the interview, and that's where she added him in the process because they were going back and forth with the marriage. But Mr. Timothy, just make that girl happy. Go ahead and marry her. Okay?
Thank you so
Put
much.
her in the process.
Oh yeah, thank you.
All right, congratulations in advance. I wish you all the best.
Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
so I believe we've come to the end of the session, so we can let Mr. Douglas go. But I'll be back here to sort out any person that has questions with my email address or phone numbers or how to get in the post NCLEX group where you get informations. If you have any of that questions, I'll be back here to answer it. And then also, now that we have a larger house, I would like us to put our location on the comment section. I want to know how wide we are going, because today we're able to touch a couple of countries like Cameroon, Ghana, and Jordan and the rest of them. So we want to be able to have an insight to countries that we should be talking about, so we don't leave your country, don't leave you left behind when we are giving instances or when we are citing examples. Okay, so just let us know your city, your location, where you're viewing us from. And then, Mr. Douglas, I just want to say a very big thank you for joining us today. It was an amazing, amazing session. And we really gained a lot of, insight into the process, the immigration, the updates, all the things that you gave us today. They are top notch. And I want to say thank you and thank you. I can't even thank you enough, but thank you for always coming through for us each time that we call on you. Okay. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, guys. If I may, all of us, myself included, I wasn't born in America. I was born in Ghana, right? I came here for college, and Mr. Decency is the same thing. He was born in Nigeria. He came here through the same nursing pathway that you guys are on, and so both of us are sort of testimonies to say that the process that you're on, it works, right? It works. You just have to stay on it, and you have to be smart about it. When you're working with agencies, there are certain things that you have to keep in mind. You have to understand that the relationship between you and the agency is that of a professional one. Okay, and in professional relationships, consideration goes a long way. So if somebody schedules an interview or a Zoom meeting with you, you have to understand that that Zoom meeting is a professional. It's sort of almost like you're interviewing with an employer, and you have to understand that you're not going to go to an interview in person, with a t-shirt on, or with, in your bedroom, or wearing pajamas and things like that. Some of those things, when you do that, it shows the person that is interviewing you that you're not professional, or you're not serious enough about your career. And so show up like it's a standard job interview. If things happen, if you have to reschedule your Zoom meeting, it happens, but send them enough advance notice so that they don't take their time waiting for you, because that also it's not fair to both parties. So that's the second part. And the third part is that just keep going at it. What you're doing with this nurse sponsorship, you have to realize that it's not in Ghana, we call it connection, right? That there's no connection involved, that there's no backdoor, right? If anybody offers you a backdoor, it's probably going to cause problems for you in the future. So there's tricks and legal loopholes that you can use to get here quicker, but there are no backdoors. And so it's important that you look up the correct way of doing things and do them, even if it takes you a little bit longer. In the long term, you're going to be fine. And so my hope for you is that you learn to do the research like we've done today, and that you realize that you're not wasting your time by embarking on this process, that it works. It certainly works. And I wish you all the very best of luck. And both Decency and myself will help the very best we can to make your dreams a reality. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and it was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you, sir. All right, I'm going to end the recording now. And